this is Avisi, and today we are back with another episode of Placement Talk Season 2. Today we have with us Harshit, who's going to be sharing his tips and tricks to make that dream opportunity, that dream placement of yours make a reality. So, Harshit, would you please like to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone. My name is Kumar Harshit. I am a final year BTech student in Electronics and Communication Engineering. And throughout my college life, I have been a part of various clubs, including Voice It and Capsule, which you would have heard of. I was the human resource head for one of them and the management head for other. And I've been, particularly a part of various other clubs as well. Also, for this placement purpose, I have been placed in a company called CS Associates. It's a super dream company with a CTC of 12.84 LPA. And I've been offered the role of BOA, which is called Business Operations Associate. And yeah, that's about my company. I'll be starting my internship this month.
First of all, congratulations on your placement. That's a dream for many, I'm sure. So, to just walk all those people through how you actually achieve it, will you please tell us about the selection process and how you apply for these?
Okay, so for this company and as a matter for any other company, everything starts with the bad sales sending an email or a message on a Google group, which you will be a part of if you're sitting for placements. So what generally happens is, you get the notification from placement cell that the company is going to visit on XYZ date, and you apply for that particular company through a Google form. That was for my company. It can be other places as well, such as the campus interaction portal, which is again another chapter. So in any way, you have to initially apply, and once you have applied for the company, then within a week or so, the company will visit the campus. Now, the particular thing with ZS was that we filled the form, and I guess around 5 or 6 days, ZS actually visited the campus, and the list was released for how many students have applied and who are eligible. Now all those eligible students were asked to give tests, and like all of these tests being eliminating each of the step. So now you just have to go through all those steps, and finally, I'd say within 2 weeks max, you should, in the most perfect situation, you should get the result. So this was the whole overview of the process.
As you talked about, there were steps throughout the selection process. So, can you please tell us how many their selection steps are there and how do they actually work?
Okay, so for ZS, there are 5 steps. The whole selection procedure is divided into 5 parts, I would say. And as I mentioned earlier, each of them are eliminating round. So I'll tell you everything in detail. So to start with, when the company comes for the first day, in the best case scenario, you'll have to sit for the placement for the particular ZS placement for 2 days. The first one consists of 3 phases, and the second one consists of the rest of the two. Now, on the first day, when you're setting for it, the 3 phases will be divided. Say, I'll give you an example that suppose today is your selection day one. Then from 9 p.m. tonight till 9 a.m. tomorrow, you will be given a 12-hour window in which you'll have to, attempt the 3 phases, the first 3 phases out of the five. And, suppose you start at 10 o'clock. The 10 o'clock will be the first test, will be an aptitude round. Now, aptitude round, if I have to explain what kind of questions you can expect, would be say the general maths question, English question, and LR and DI, logical reasoning, data interpretation. This is something which you have to be very well versed with if you are applying for any consultancy firm, ZS being one. So yeah, this was the aptitude round, the first phase. Then if you qualify for this, then only you will be allowed to give the second round. Otherwise, you'll be eliminated and taken out of the test. If I have to talk about the difficulty level of the first round, which is the aptitude, then I would say it was medium. I won't say it was that hard, Particularly English and LRDI questions were fairly easy. You don't need any particular preparation for them. Moving on to the second round, if you qualified the first round, the second round is called PSDD, which is also, the full form is problem solving deep dive. Now, in this particular round, you will be given a case study, and for that case study, you will be given 30 minutes and 8 questions. So, in those 30 minutes, you have to solve the 8 questions based on the information given to you. Now, the case can be anything. Let me give you an example. Say a company wants to enter in a new market, say in a new country. So, what kind of situations? What are the perfect strategy to enter in that particular country would be, and questions based on that. So that's 30 minutes and 8 questions. And again, for this particular round, I don't think you need any particular preparation as such, but a general idea of how things work, how a general basic business acumen would help a lot. Because that's basic questions. You won't be asked a very merger acquisition kind of question. Just basic. What would be the best thing for the company to do? So I think this round is again a fairly easier one. Then the third round is the video interview round. Now, this round, I guess, is the most. I guess this is the step in which most of the elimination takes place. This is a very crucial step. Now, in this, what happens is basically it's an interview taken by AI. On your laptop screen or your computer screen, a question will be displayed. You will be given 10 seconds for preparation, and then you'll have to speak for 3 minutes for that particular question. So that question can be a guesstimate. That question can be an HR question, anything. So you have to be prepared, and you'll just get 10 seconds to mentally prepare yourself to answer that. So in this round, your fluency, your flow, your grammar, everything will be judged by AI. So there's no human, judging you. It's completely based on AI. So you have to speak in that way, making sure that you're not, stopping a lot in between, stuttering, or you're not repeating things again and again, keeping your flow in tight. So that's the most important thing I understood. So I guess this was the most important round in the first phase. Now, when this is done, then after I would say 5 days maximum, you'll get the notification that yeah, XYZ number of students have qualified. You can go for the second phase, which consists of 2 rounds. Now, the second phase is majorly interviews. To start with, the first round of the second phase would be a case study interview. You'll be like when I discussed about the second round, which was PSTD, it was a mini case study. But then in this phase, the third, fourth round, you'll have a very big case study of around 6 to 7 pages, and you'll be given 1 hour of time to solve the case study, which consists of a lot of, a bit of complex and so many data interpretation questions. So in this round, if you're not very well versed with your data interpretation skills, then it's very difficult to qualify it, because I'd say 80% of it depends on your data interpretation. So that's about it. You have to answer those questions, and once you have answered them, then you have to present your answers to the interviewer. Now, say I did my completed my case interview, then I'll get a call from an interview. I come in and explain what did you think of while giving these answers. So you have to be very thorough with the kind of approach you have towards answer. They're not really going to make and look at your calculations and try to figure them out. They're just trying to get into your head and trying to figure out what you thought of while answering the question. I personally made a calculation error, a very big calculation error, but that was ignored because he thought that the thought process was the apt one, was the one which was to be taken. So, that's the most important takeaway from this round. If you qualify in this one, again, as I said, all of them are eliminating. So, if you qualify in this one, then that's the final interview. It's called evidence based interview. In this round, you can expect the basic HR questions, that why do you want to work for the company and what do you know exactly about the company. For this round, I'd personally ask all of my juniors to read about ZS, the history of ZS. If you know what happened and how it started and everything, it's going to leave a very positive impact on the interviewer, and they actually look for such things. So that's one thing. Again, you'll be asked guesstimates. If you're applying for ZS, then you should know what guesstimates are and what's the concept of it. And you'll be definitely be asked about your internships and projects. So these four things: HR, guesstimates, internship, and project is the main takeaway from this round. So yeah, so that sums up the final round. And if you are qualified and if you get selected, you will be intimated within a week about your selection. That's about the whole selection procedure.
So a super dream placement with five rounds, eliminating rounds, and as you described, so the competition must be really fierce with this. So, what was your preparation strategy, and what were the resources that you think that during prepping for this you found the most useful ones?
For preparation, I would say that if you are an engineering student, you don't if you just without preparing the first day of placement, you just sit for the company. There are a lot of chances that you get selected, because you there's no such specific things for ZS that you have to prepare for. It's basic aptitude question. You have to have a good communication skills and a slight knowledge of business acumen would do. I will say that you don't have to rub a lot, you don't have to work a lot for this particular company. But still, for me, I prepared a lot from India Bigs. That's an aptitude practicing site. It's a very good site. And if you want to prepare for aptitude, specifically for placements, then India Bigs is the one to go. That was like the biggest help for me for aptitude. Again, for case studies, now you won't get cases which GS ask in such kind of competitions because they are confidential. So that's one thing which you cannot find anywhere, and you have to know how to solve them. So I would say that on the websites of Bain and McKinsey, these are two other companies, you can go and find similar case studies, and I personally referred them, and they helped me to a bit of an extent. Not helped me a lot, and definitely similar type of questions came, but you can get an idea, because this is a very new concept from the perspective of an engineering student who has been coding and doing his core subjects. This is something totally different. Doing case studies is not expected from you. So yeah, I'd say Bain and McKinsey sites have quite a good number of case studies again. And other than that, if you in any way, if you can work on your communication skills, that would be a very good thing. Because as I said, the round three, which is the video interview round, you have to have a good communication hold over yourself. So that's the three thing I would say, and that was my preparation strategy.
Thank you for that. And moving on, in the beginning of this interview, you said that you were an active member of many clubs. And yeah, so they were technical, non technical clubs. So, what do you think that these clubs do play a role when it comes to sitting in placements? And do you think that they help us in any way?
So yeah, I was a part of many clubs, as I mentioned, and to be honest, I won't say that these clubs are going to get you a job. That's definitely not something I would say. But they can help in a very passive way. Yeah, that's the word for it. When you are a part of a club, you understand the responsibilities. You understand how any system works. Say I have a president of a club, and then the vice president, then the leads, and then the participants. So you would understand how you work in such kind of environment. That will help you when you start the job actually. But if you talk about the interview process, it's not going to help you in such a way, because I sat for various interviews and I don't think any of them actually asked me about the interviews except one company, which is PwC. So they actually asked me about that, what was your work and everything. But others, they didn't ask at all. They didn't go to that side of my resume. So yeah, directly that's not going to help you again. But again, to have it on your resume is another positive thing. What I think of resume is it should have everything from your core to your non-technical things. It should have everything that creates an impact, especially when you're sitting for companies having a profile of consulting. Say if you're sitting for a very technical role, these are not that specific. If it's sitting for a technical role, these are not going to help you very much. But again, sitting for a consultancy or a non-technical business analyst role, these are going to help you to some extent. They may ask you questions as well. So yeah, for people sitting for non-technical roles, I would say definitely participate in clubs. Have active interest. Try to get to a position of responsibility. That would help you a lot in understanding things and maybe in your interview as well.
As you talked about resume and how it's different to make a resume depending on the kind of job opportunity you are aiming for. And obviously, like we work for 3 years towards this, 4 years, then we have to put it all in a resume. So, what, according to you, is the perfect way to build that strong resume that gets you the attention from different companies?
Talking about resume, see, when you give a resume to any company, you are expected to fit everything in one single page. And I think for me, that was the most difficult part, because when you actually sit making your resume, you may find a lot of things that you can put in, from your co-curricular to, clubs and achievements, everything. There are a lot of things you can put, but to put everything in one single page is the biggest challenge. And so I would say that if you are aiming for to have a very good resume, start building it from your third year itself. So you will have an idea of what are the necessary things that you have to put. Like for me personally, I made a proper resume of mine, a one pager, uh, right before the placement. So that was a very difficult time for me to actually concentrate on placements while working on my resume, and trying to fit everything in, trying to get things from 3 years back and putting it in. That was kind of, you have to put a lot of thought towards your resume. So I'd say start building a resume from your third year itself. And talking about what all things they should put, then again, I'd say that I would give 10 different resume to 10 different roles if I'm applying to. I'm definitely not going to give a same resume to every job, because that's how it works. So, a very technical company does not care about what kind of achievements you had in your school, or what kind of clubs you participate in. That's not going to make a very huge impact. So, if you are someone looking for a proper technical role, an SDE role, say, then you should concentrate majorly towards what are the technical projects you had. Write a little bit more about them as compared to what are the achievements you had in extracurriculars. Of course, add them too, but try to divide it based on your role. So, for my role was of a business operations associate, then I definitely wouldn't want to include any achievements regarding, um, say, any. I don't want to fill my resume everything technically, right? I have to keep things, and I have to make them believe that yeah, I participated in other stuffs too, and these are my position of responsibilities and XYZ, which would actually draw their attention. So yeah, a resume is specific for company and specific for the role you're applying to. So don't make a very general resume for everything. Prepare as per your role. More the technical the role is, more technical should the resume look.
So, moving on, there's this one question everyone has. How important is CGPA for sitting in placements and getting the jobs? So, what do you think about that? And like, if it is like really important, what was your strategy to maintain a good CGPA?
So for everyone who says that CGPA doesn't matter, and everyone who thinks like that, then you should get out of that thought. You should. I'm saying it bluntly, and anyone who sat for the placement would agree with me that CGPA does matter. It does matter a lot. You know, because there are going to be times where you won't be able to sit for the first test of the company, and that's because of your CGPA, nothing else. So I'll tell you what happens exactly and how that happens. Because see, there are 7,000 people sitting for one particular job, and the company comes in and asks for a particular number of students who can actually sit for the placement. Now that particular number is going to be filled by your CGPA and nothing else. VIT cannot give the name of every single person who has applied, because companies themselves has a particular limit of the number of people who can give the test. But in general, if I have to say, and I think every single one of them which I've heard, if you have a CGPA of 9 above, then there is a very good chance that you're going to be eligible for almost all the companies. And if you have any CGPA of above 8.5, then most of the companies. If you have a CGPA of below 8.5, it's going to be a bit difficult for you. It was a bit difficult for me as well. I was 8.42. So, for many companies which came in, I was not shortlisted, for not even giving the first test itself. So, I personally would say that, even my friends who had 8.6 or 8.5 something would get the opportunity to sit. So, yeah, that's the barrier you have to cross. But of course, it's not going to be always like that. After not all companies are going to do the same thing to you. For example, ZS, which came in, allowed around 3,000 students to sit for the test. So that included people having CGPA around 7 as well. So again, that depends on companies, as I said earlier. But if I have to give you a number, 8.5 is something which is very important. If you can, if you're in your second or first year, try aiming above 8.5. If you're not, then you are going to get chances. Work on those opportunities rather than working on everything. Right? That's my ideology. So 8.5 is the number.
CGPA is very important. So yeah, apart from CGPA, what other skills besides college do you think that everyone should be working on in their initial year, like starting from their initial years, so that they have an upper hand over other people when you set for placements?
So Uh, throughout the placement process, I saw many people who were very strong in their technical skills, and that's something which is to be understood, that you're working on your technical skills for 3 years of your life. You are going to be strong. So you have to expect, while before sitting for the placement, assume one thing, that everyone else who is sitting for the role knows what you knows about the technical skills. Just assume this. That's going to help you a lot. Never think that you have a step ahead. You are a step ahead of other students in terms of technical knowledge. Never think that. So I have seen a lot of my friends who had a very good technical hold of their subjects, but when it came to interviews, when it came to HR interviews, they were not able to express themselves, as such, based on their knowledge. So one thing that I have to say that is very important is your communication skills and how you express your ideas. Work on that. That's never going to get you into harm. See, having knowledge is different, and being able to communicate is very different. So people have settled for less, lesser than they deserve, because they were not able to express what they wanted to, what they had. And that's one of the most, the worst thing that can happen to you. Despite having all the knowledge, you're not getting the role because you're not able to express. So anyone who's going to sit for placement, try to have mock interviews with your friends itself. With your family members, your siblings, your friends. Try to ask them questions. Even there are many sites which can help you with the such things. Conducting mock interviews with strangers. So try to talk to them. Try to express yourself, and improve your communication skills, because that's something which is never going to get you into harm. That's definitely going to help you, and that's going to make you stand out from the crowd. Everyone who has the knowledge, just assume everyone has the knowledge. Work on how to express it. That's what I would say.
So, we have been talking a lot about what to do for placements and what things that we should be aiming for. But from your experience, what do you think are the big mistakes or the common ones that most people make that cost them a lot, or something that is very easily avoidable, but just because we are not aware enough, we don't know enough, so we make them? What do you think they are? And if you want to suggest your juniors about something.
So one thing which I saw in my peers and me as well was the leniency, or my me being not serious towards the aptitude round. You look around. Anyone who's preparing for placement is preparing for the coding round, is preparing for the interviews, and as such XYZ. No one actually looks at. Very few people actually work on their aptitude skills. Aptitude skills is something which you are going to get at every. Almost all the companies will have an aptitude test in the screening process, and that's the first process. So, there are a lot of people in my batch itself who were, working very hard on their coding skills, working very hard on their technical and core related skills. But when it came to the first test, which was the aptitude, they had to, prepare in the last minute about the important topics and everything. This is a very common mistake. Even I made it in my placement process, not being very serious about aptitude. So I'd say that don't make the mistake of ignoring it completely. Work on it. If you are dedicating 3 hours of your day for coding, then give an hour or half an hour at least for aptitude. Don't leave it unattended. That's going to cost you a lot. Not even that's because that's the first round. You have to accept it, and working on it for a few weeks would because almost all the companies will have similar kind of aptitude. So if you work on one set of aptitudes, as I said, from India Bigs, this would help you in all the companies. So that's one mistake to avoid. Do not ignore aptitude at all. Other than that, yeah, that's the one thing which is coming in my mind right now. Other than that, dress properly. Yeah, that's it.
Well, thanks a lot. You shared a lot with us today, and I'm sure that's going to help a lot of us, including me. Yeah, so to end this, do you have some advice for your juniors that you want to give?
Mm, my advice would be first advice that I've been giving everyone, that don't get emotionally attached to a company. That can turn out very well for you. That can destroy everything for you personally. What I felt was, if any company would come, naturally we would work a lot on it. We would start thinking of working in it without even applying on it. See, the thing is that you have to be very enthusiastic towards companies and which are coming towards your preparation. But don't think that, yeah, I have to get a job in, say, Amazon, or else, nothing else. That's the worst thing you can do to yourself, because if you get it, well and good. Maybe you have worked up very hard on it, but placement is also about luck. So maybe you have worked hard a lot, but because of luck, if you don't get it, then your morale goes down a lot. So that's something again I experienced. I get attached to a company and start thinking of it very soon, the soon I get the mail. So don't think of that. Think of it as one company you have to work for technically. Don't attach yourself to it. That's one thing. And another thing that I've been saying is, yeah, as I mentioned, work on your communications skills. That's definitely going to help you. And again, work on your resume. Try to make it as attractive as possible, as easy to read. Don't fill it up with all the information. It should be, when I look at your resume, I should be able to skim through it in 10 seconds and know that what are the highlights of it. Make sure that I don't have to read all the specifics of the project and which microcontroller you used in the project 2 years back. I don't have to know about that, right? So try to make it as readable as possible. Yeah, these are the three things majorly you have to focus on.
Thanks a lot for that. And really, thank you for taking time today for us for doing this. I'm sure it's going to help a lot of us.